Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is the House of Law and I am Attorney Al Jumrani. This is episode 6 of Civil Law Jurisprudence by Justice Leonen. If you missed the 5th episode, you can watch it through the link above or the link in the description box below. In this episode, I will talk about 3 more Supreme Court decisions penned by Justice Marvick Leonen. The first case is about a sale by a co-owner of a definite portion of the co-owned property. The second case is about the meaning of oxen. Open, continuous, exclusive, and notorious possession and occupation in land registration cases. And the third case is about psychological incapacity as a ground for nullity of marriage. Let's begin. Our first case is Cabrera versus Ysaac, GR number 166790, November 19, 2014. So in this case, Henry Ysaac, who was one of the co-owners of a co-owned property in Naga City. Juan Cabrera was leasing a 95 square meter portion of that property. Because Henry needed money, he offered the property for sale to Juan. Juan, observing that the property is quite small, asked for a larger area because he needed a parking space for his car. So Henry offered from 95 square meters to 435 square meters, subject to the agreement of those who were then occupying the area. Cabrera then paid an initial or down payment of 1,500 pesos. However, Cabrera never succeeded in getting the other occupants to agree to the sale. Also, Cabrera failed to pay the balance of the purchase price to Henry. Now, to add complication to the story, subsequently, the administration of the entire co-owned property was transferred to Franklin Ysaac, one of the heirs and the brother of Henry. And this Franklin Ysaac offered, as in fact, he concluded a sale of the property to the Naga City government. So Juan discovered this and Juan sued Henry for specific performance, alleging that there was a perfected contract of sale, that he was the first to buy the property. So the issue in this case is whether there was a perfected contract of sale between Juan and Henry, which can be enforced in an action for specific performance. Here, the Supreme Court held that there was no perfected contract of sale. Henry was merely a co-owner of a property which was also co-owned by the heirs of Luis and Matilde Ysaac. He could not validly sell a specific or definite portion of the property owned in common prior to its partition. If the sale was made before the partition, the co-owner cannot sell a definite portion of the land without the consent from his or her co-owners. He or she could only sell his or her undivided interest in the co-owned property. A sale of a definite portion of a common property requires the consent of all co-owners because it operates to partition the land with respect to the said co-owner selling his or her share. By doing so, the co-owner or seller is already marking which portion should redound to his or her autonomous ownership upon future partition. At best, the agreement between Henry and Juan is a contract to sell, not a contract of sale. A contract to sell is a promise to sell an object or thing subject to suspensive conditions. Without the fulfillment of these suspensive conditions, the sale does not operate to determine the obligation of the seller to deliver the object. A co-owner could enter into a contract to sell a definite portion of the property. However, such contract is still subject to the suspensive condition of the partition of the property and that the other co-owners agree that the part subject of the contract to sell vests in favor of the co-owner's buyer. Hence, the co-owner's consent is an important factor for the sale to ripen. Alright, so I hope that's clear. The second case is Canlas versus Republic, GR number 200894, November 10, 2014. So in this case, Luz Biminda Canlas applied for the original registration of title over a parcel of land in Binangonan, Rizal. Canlas alleged that she had been in open, continuous, exclusive, and notorious possession of an alienable and disposable land of the public domain under a bona fide claim of ownership for more than 30 years. There were no oppositors to the application. Consequently, the Regional Trial Court granted the application and ordered the registration of the property in the name of Canlas. The Republic, through the Office of the Solicitor General, as expected, appealed to the Court of Appeals. It claimed that Canlas did not sufficiently prove its actual possession and occupation. Also, the OSG noted several discrepancies in the tax declarations and records of tax payments. So the issue in this case is whether Canlas has sufficiently proven her actual possession and occupation. The Supreme Court answered in the affirmative. Canlas had complied with the requirement of possession and occupation. But first, as to the alleged discrepancy in the tax declarations and tax receipts, the Supreme Court held that a parcel of land is not declared for tax purposes regularly, or that realty taxes are not paid on a regular basis, does not automatically contradict the claim of possession. Tax declarations only serve as additional indicia of ownership. It is not conclusive as to the fact of possession, occupation, or ownership. Now, for the meaning of oxen, open, continuous, exclusive, and notorious possession and occupation, the Supreme Court defined it as follows. Possession is open when it is patent, visible, apparent, notorious, and not clandestine. It is continuous when not interrupted, unbroken, and not intermittent or occasional. Exclusive when the adverse possessor can show exclusive dominion over the land and an appropriation of it to his own use and benefit. And notorious when it is so conspicuous that it is generally known and talked of by the public or the people in the neighborhood. Our third and last case for this episode is Tani-Dela Fuente versus De La Fuente, GR number 188400, March 8, 2017. In this case, Maria Teresa filed an action for nullity of her marriage to Rodolfo on the ground of Rodolfo's psychological incapacity. Maria Teresa alleged that Rodolfo was severely jealous, constantly stalking her, and threatened men around Teresa, including a 15-year-old cousin who was staying at their house because he suspected the cousin of being Maria Teresa's lover. Imagine. In addition, Rodolfo treated Maria Teresa like a sex slave. They would have sex 4 or 5 times a day. At times, Rodolfo would fetch Maria Teresa from her office during her lunch break, just so they could have sex. During sexual intercourse, Rodolfo would either tie her to the bed or poke her with things. Rodolfo also suggested that they invite a third person with whom they could have sex, or for Maria Teresa to have sex with another man in Rodolfo's presence. Rodolfo's suggestions made Maria Teresa feel molested and maltreated. Whenever Maria Teresa refused Rodolfo's advances or suggestions, he would get angry and they would quarrel. The psychologist who testified for Maria Teresa testified that Rodolfo was suffering from severe personality disorder, most probably caused by a pathogenic parental model. Rodolfo's family background showed that his father was a psychiatric patient, and Rodolfo might have developed what they call psychic contamination. Because of this, the trial court granted the petition for nullity of marriage. However, as expected, the Office of the Solicitor General appealed to the Court of Appeals, claiming that the psychological incapacity was not sufficiently established. Thus, the issue in this case is whether the evidence was sufficient to prove that Rodolfo was psychologically incapacitated to fulfill his marital obligations. In very few instances like this, the Supreme Court ruled yes, the evidence was sufficient to prove Rodolfo's psychological incapacity. Said the court, this court noticed respondent's repeated acts of harassment towards petitioner, which show his need to intimidate and dominate her, a classic case of coercive control. At first, respondent only inflicted non-physical forms of mistreatment on petitioner by alienating her from her family and friends due to his jealousy and stalking her due to his paranoia. However, this jealousy soon escalated into physical violence when on separate instances he poked a gun at his teenage cousin and at petitioner Maria Teresa. Coercive control is a form of psychological abuse which refers to a pattern of behavior meant to dominate a partner through different tactics such as physical and sexual violence, threats, emotional insults, and economic deprivation. Although not specifically named, coercive control as a form of psychological abuse or harm has been recognized in Republic Act No. 9262 or the Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children Act of 2004. Note, however, that recently the Supreme Court announced a new ruling in psychological incapacity cases, and the case is Tan-Andal versus Andal. We are still waiting for the decision to be publicly released. In the meantime, you can watch my video about that decision through the link above or the link in the description box below. Alright guys, those are the 3 cases for this video, and that caps Episode 6 of Civil Law Jurisprudence by Justice Leonen. I hope may natutunan kayo today. For the bar reviewees, take note of these cases. Baka lumabas sa bar exams this November. Please drop a like if you like this video. Please subscribe to my channel to support me and click that notification bell to be alerted when I upload a new video. Till the next video, laging tatandaan, isip e buksan, alamin ang batas. Bye guys.